So today is a user administration. There are few things regarding the user administration. So because we are all coming from Oracle or other backgrounds, so generally we have this perception. Okay. So first of all, we need to clear that. Then we can go for user administration. Okay. So Postgres is designed as a very simple database, yet it is powerful. Because it is simple, it does not mean that it is not powerful. Okay. When it comes to the user administration, so some concepts we have to be very clear. So here in Postgres, so a user is nothing but a role. So the original term for user is role. Actually, if you work in Postgres 7.x or 8 version, you don't have any user, you don't have any concept of user. Okay. Even today also we don't have a concept of user, but somehow we attached it or we stick it. So it is a role. The Postgres, the original concept or original name for the user in Postgres is role. So this is the original name given to the user. So with which you can log in and you can determine the privileges. So that is what the role is. Okay. The user is nothing but the role in Postgres. So that's the reason, when you say \du command, it says roles, it does not say users. So it will always say user, the role does not exist. So role is the term what we use instead of user. Okay, in Postgres. In other databases, now I'm comparing between Postgres and Oracle database, you have two things. One is user and other one is role, right? So you have both role and user. You have most of the databases have both. Okay, role and user. Almost all databases I know. So they have different objects. Role is a different object, like a group, and user is a different object, right? But here we don't have any two different objects. It is just one object. So the original name of that object is role, but later on people started calling it user also. Okay, because we are coming from different backgrounds like Oracle and all. So we tend to call it as Oracle as well, means user as well. So because of our habit. The book term or the Postgres term for user is role. Okay. So there is a beauty in the Postgres. So, you might wonder, what about the roles? We also need roles, right? So roles helps us a lot. Roles actually simplify a lot of, things like, managing the privileges and all. Roles simplify. You create a role, you assign some privileges to that role, and then you can create any number of users that belongs to that role which will have same privileges. So that is the main purpose of roles in other databases. So here we don't have any roles. Okay, but there is a beauty in Postgres you should appreciate. So what it does is one user can be granted to another user. One user can be granted to another user. So when you grant one user to another user, So what happens is, so the another user, the second user will, what we say means inherit or gets all the privileges from the first user. Okay. So a user can be granted to another user. Okay. So that is possible in Postgres. Grant user 1 to user 2. So you can grant one user to another user. So the privileges of user 1 are now inherited by the user 2. The privileges, whatever privileges the user 1 has, so they are also, the user 2 also gets those privileges. Okay. So that is what the beauty of the Postgres is. So because so we are coming from different backgrounds, we are more comfortable with the term user than role. So in our minds, role is a different thing, so it is used for different purpose. So that's the reason, so what the Postgres guys have done is, so they also started calling, so you can call it as a user or you can call it as a role. So the original term in Postgres is role, so which can be called as user. So which can be called as user. Okay. So for our convenience purpose, so which can be called as user. But originally it is just one object, role. For Postgres, it is role. Okay. So that is role and user. So we don't have two different objects here. It is just one object. So originally, which is called as a role. Okay. So originally in Postgres, we used to have, so we used to have, so create, so we used to have create role statement. So we used to have alter role statement, and we used to have drop role statements. Now, so now, we have, so the original statements, these are all original statements. So now we also have synonyms for these statements. So it is just a synonym for, these statements. So we also have what we say means, so create user, create user, alter user, drop user. These are not additional statements, but only synonym to those create or role, alter role, and drop role statements. Okay. So that is what, so these are like, synonyms. So synonyms for those statements. So create user, alter user, drop user. So we also have these statements. Okay. So these statements are added in version 9.0 or 9.1. These statements got added. So the original Postgres, so the old original Postgres, uh, so did not have create user, alter user statement, but the original Postgres has only what we say create role, alter role, and drop role statements. So, but for the convenience of us, they introduce these statements, but it is not a statement on its own. It is just a synonym for create role, okay, command. So it will invoke the same code what is there in the create role. Okay. So that is how, so that is some of the basic things we should know about the Postgres users. Okay. So they are called as roles. Okay. In Postgres, a role can be granted or a user can be granted to another user. So that flexibility is there. So that means you can designate some users to be used only as roles. Okay. You can designate some users as, roles if you want to use the roles. So and the create role, create, alter role, drop role are the original statements. However, we also have create user, create drop user, alter user statements. Any questions here? Everybody clear about these concepts? Okay. So I am assuming everybody is clear about this concept. Okay, and I'm moving forward. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you have two types of privileges. You have two types of privileges here. Okay. So some privileges are object level privileges. Object level privileges. Objects means what? Object level privileges. Objects means, so objects means like a database, a schema, a table, a stored procedure, a view, a function, these are all the database objects, right? Object level privileges we have. Every object have a fixed set of privileges. Okay. Every object has a fixed set of privileges. Okay. And we also have, so we also have, so object level privileges, and we have database cluster level permissions. Database cluster level attributes. So they are called as attributes. So these attributes are equivalent to the permissions or the privileges on the cluster. So the cluster is nothing but the instance, right? So what privileges we can have at the instance level? Okay. So every user should have certain privileges. Every role should have certain privileges. Okay, what those privileges are. So let me let me tell you what those privileges are. So database cluster level privileges. So we have a list of privileges. Most important of them is the login attribute. The login attribute we have. So any user who want to log in must have the login attribute. If the user does not have login attribute, so the user cannot log in. Okay. So, if you want to avoid or if you want any user not to log in, you have to take back the login attribute. So you have to take back the login attribute. Okay. So that is what the login attribute is. And there is an anti to login attribute. So you have login attribute and also you have no login attribute. Okay. So if you want to take back login attribute, that doesn't mean that you can take it back. So that only means that you have to give no login attribute to the user. So if you give no login attribute, so the user will not be able to log in. If you give login attribute, so the user will be able to log into the database. Okay. So most of these attributes have their counterparts also. So for example, we have, so this is about login, and the next one is about create DB. And the counter for create DB is no create DB. One word. So no create DB. So actually, so the user who has the create DB attribute can create a new database. Every user cannot create a new database. Only the user who has create DB attribute can create. And so no create DB attribute. So, the user will not be able to create. So you will either have create DB or you will have no create DB. Okay. So likewise, you have more attribute. So more attributes you have. Okay. So like, create role, no create role. So like this, you will have the attributes. Most of the attributes are like this. So in the PDF, I have given what we say means list of all the attributes we have. Okay. So you can see, so super attribute, no super user attribute. So if you want to create a super user, that user should have super attribute. Okay, if you want to make a user normal user, you have to give no super attribute to that user. Create DB, create role, inherit, and no inherit. Inherit means when you grant one user to another user, so the second user is inheriting all the privileges from the first user. So if you create the second user as no inherit, it will not inherit anything. Login, no login, replication, no replication, bypass rules, no bypass rules. So these are the attributes, plus other attributes are connection limit. So while creating the user or role, so you can give, so this user and role can so have this many concurrent connection. So you have to give an integer number here. So that will be concurrent connections. And then the password. So you can give the password. So valid until, so you can give a timestamp here, which should include both date and time part timestamp. So the user is valid until that time, and after that the user will expire. Okay. So until you alter that user and increase the timestamp. Okay, you can also make the user part of the role. These two are synonyms. So in role, in group, these two are synonyms. Okay. So here, one thing we need to note here is, so, so one thing we need to note here is, so you need to use alter user here. So these can be assigned using while creating the user or by using the statement alter user. Create role, create user, alter role, alter user. So you can assign any of the attributes or change the attributes. So using create while creating the user, or if the user is already created, you can use alter user to change the attribute. Okay, attributes. When it comes to object level privileges, like, so like, the select privilege, the insert privilege, so the connect privilege. So these are the privileges which are related to objects. Every object has some specific number of privileges possible. So, so these privileges can be managed by grant and revoke. Grant, so revoke. So these two statements you can use to manage the object level privileges. Grant and revoke statement. So we don't have deny here. So some databases have in data control DCL, some databases have grant, revoke, and deny. So, but Postgres has only grant and revoke, two statements we have. So these two statements can be used to, manage the object level privileges. You want to grant some privileges to a user on an object, so you can use grant. If you want to take back the privileges on the object, so you can revoke. Okay. So whereas the attributes, the database cluster level privileges, so that is called as attributes. They can only be changed using alter user, or while creating the user, you can assign them. So after creating the user, if you want to assign new attributes or take back the old attributes, so you cannot take back. You have to give its counter. Like if you want to take back create DB attribute, you have to give no create DB attribute. Okay. So you can use the alter user statement for that, or alter role statement for that. Hope everybody is clear about this concept. Any questions? Okay, so I'm assuming everybody is clear about this concept, right? So attributes, you are very clear that is different set of permissions at a cluster level. Object level permissions, like normal grants you do, so they are pretty much similar to the grants which you have in other databases. Okay, so we are very clear about this, right?
Sami, so initially, who given that? I mean, when we create database on that time, if we given to that one attribute or any privilege to any user, so that has been done by Postgres user, right? Initially.
Yeah, initially, because
So,
right now only Postgres user is there.
hmm,
So initially this user has to do at least.
okay. And what is the
Okay.
highest privilege we have in that one? Postgres. So if we given that privilege,
So
so that user can do anything, everything like that.
super user.
Okay, super user.
Okay. And the counterpart for that is no super user. Okay. Now, if you create a user with the super user attribute, so, so that is, that can do, that user can do, everything. So the default attributes are like, no create DB is default. So I am putting D here. No create rule is default. So, these roles are these you have to give specifically. If you just create a user, the user will not have create DB, create role, create these privileges are not there. Okay, these attributes are not given. Okay, so all the attributes are, so let me list all the attributes. So we have only few number of attributes, not many attributes we have. Only few attributes we have, like I had given in the document, right? So we have, so what attributes we have is, so we have what we say means super user. Okay. And no super user is default. When you create a new user, generally it will get this no super user. Oh, sorry. I'm writing it in a wrong way. So super user is not default, but no super, its counterpart, no super user is default. Okay. In the same way, so in the same way, so create DB. So create DB, sorry, no create DB here. So again, I did a mistake. So no create DB is default. Okay, so forget about it. So of so
Sami, if you have any documentation, you can show it and you can explain instead of writing.
yeah, so I'm just in the documentation I didn't have which is default and which is not default. So I have this documentation here. So you can see all the roles we have. Okay. So, but which one is what we say means default and which one is not default. So that is again, I need to tell orally. So sometimes, we will just, so no replication. So replication. So no replication, replication. So these are, when you create a user by default, so it will not have super user permissions. It will not have create database permissions. It cannot create other users. Okay. It will have inherit means, if you grant one user to another user, so that user will inherit all the privileges from the granted user. Okay. It will not have replication. Okay, when it comes to the login, so we have a different situation here. So the login, I will put it in blue. Login, no login. So this is somewhat so difference here. Okay, as I told, you can create a user either with the create user or with the create role command, right? So you can use, either create user or create role command. So any of these two commands you can use to create a new user. So there is a slight difference here. There is a slight difference here. So with the create user and create role. So if you use create user command, okay, so create. So if you use create user command, so what happens is, automatically, so the login is given to that user. Create user. So automatically login is added. So whether you want it or not, login is added. So if you are using what we say create role, so you need to specifically mention login here. So you need to specifically mention, login here. If you use create role, then only the user will be given the privilege, that attribute of login. Okay. Uh, if you use create user, automatically the user will be given. So the login attribute. So that is the slight difference between, the create user statement and create role statement. Okay. So that is about our user creation. So any questions we have? So I will just go to the demo and I will show how to create the users. Okay. So everybody is clear, right? Okay. So, so already we can create a user using the create user or create role statements. The statement syntax is pretty much conforms to, okay, the same standards like others. Only thing is in Oracle, we use identified by for password. Here we have to use with, okay, with password. So no identified by, so option is there. Okay. So lock account, how to rename the user, existing user can be renamed without disturbing the permissions and attributes. Neither the attributes are disturbed nor the permissions are disturbed. So that is, you have to say alter role. So role name, rename to new name. As I said, you can also use user here. You can use the word interchangeably, user or role. Okay, locking account. Locking account means preventing the users from logging into the system. That is why we lock the accounts. So we don't have something called as lock. So what we have is no login. You alter the user with no login attribute. You alter the user with no login attribute. You are assigning no login attribute to the user. So that means the user cannot log in. Expiring the passwords. So password expiry is only, valid until option you have. Okay. It is not exactly the same kind of password expiry we have in other databases, but this is what the option we have which can achieve us to expire a user login. So after a certain time, so you have to give a date time here. So exactly at the date and time, so so the user will be expired. Okay. So these are, what you can do. You can create the users. So you can, okay, rename the users. You can, using the alter statement, you can log the account by assigning no login attribute to the user. You can expire by changing the valid until. Okay. So these are the things you can do. So alter user, create user. So user versus role, I think I have given an explanation. Both are same. That is whether you say it user or whether you say it, call it role or whether you call it user, it is the same object. So super user. So we also have a super user. The super user can be created by assigning super user attribute. So there is a super user attribute. So you can assign that, or at the time of creation, you can mention so super attribute. So what happens is the user is created as super user. It can bypass all sec. It is like the Postgres user, what we have right now. Okay. So that is super user. So here the command create role name super user. Okay, but one problem is there here. I also need to give the login attribute because I am using create role. So create role does not assign login attribute automatically. You need to assign. And even the super user needs login attribute to login. So if you remove if you assign the no login attribute to the super user, even the super user will not be able to log in. So login attribute is the one which determines whether the user can log in. Okay. So even if the super user also needs login attribute. Okay. So let me go to the, what we say means our lab. So here we have.
Sami, here Postgres is also a user, right?
Yes, Postgres is also user.
For that, like when initially when we logged in and we were changing the password for that, right? Like we were set password for that, right?
Yes.
So that time, when we were altering that, so I can use both role or user, or I need to use only user. I tried with both, but use role it is not working.
It will work, no problem, because both the statements are same. So I
Yeah,
will show
you
you,
were
no
saying
problem.
the same, but it didn't work. So that is the reason I was.
Okay, I will show you.
Yeah.
Okay. So the font is clearly visible.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. So now the thing is, so I am Postgres PGCTL status. Okay, the server is running. So no problem, the server is running. So I can log in here. Okay. I think yesterday I have changed the port, right? So we did that port changing. So I need to give this one. Okay. So, so here what I am doing is I am saying du. Okay, it says list of roles. List of roles are nothing but list of users because that is the original term in Postgres. So the role name is Postgres. That is the only role we have or only user we have. So it has super, create role, create DB, replication. So, it has all of them. So it has all of them. This role or user is created automatically when you initialize the Postgres server. Okay. So when you initialize Postgres server, this role is created automatically. Okay. So, so right now we have only this one. What was, you were asking something? What was your issue? Something
Uh,
related to
yeah,
alter role.
alter role. Alter
Alter
role
role.
pos with the for Postgres user and with password we used, right? Yeah, with password
Password.
and I have given the new password.
Secret 2. Okay, I'm changing the password. Yeah. So what's the problem here?
Okay, it accepted yesterday when I was trying, it was not accepting.
Maybe there might be some spelling mistake. When you are typing from the command line, always expect some spelling mistake.
Okay, let me cross check.
Okay. Oops. What happened to it? Okay. Okay. So there is a problem. There is not a problem. So secret 2. So no problem. Actually, so you have this file in Postgres called as pgpass. So every time if you want to avoid saving, means entering the password, you can save the password in that file. So Postgres will automatically pick up. So because I have changed the password, so I created that file so that every time I log in, it won't prompt, it will take from that. So I will show the content of that file also. So this is the thing. So I have saved it as secret here, the old password. So it was going there actually. The password retrieved from the file. So you can always create this pgpass file and save the passwords in that. So what happens is the Postgres will not prompt the password for you. Okay, hope you got your clarification, right? So create role user, create user, alter role, same statements, no issues, no doubts in that. Okay. So you should be very clear about it. They are not two different statements, but they are just one single statement. Okay. So which are synonym to each other. So now the thing is, I am logged into the Postgres, and so I am logged into the Postgres. So I will create one user, right? So I will create one user. So which statement do you want to use? Role or user? So I am using role because you are very much familiar with the create user statement, right? So I use create role. So start with, what I need to do is I need to use login, because the role privilege does not give this automatically login. The create role statement does not assign the login attribute automatically. Create user statement does it. So that's the reason if I am using create role, I must also mention login, because I want start user to be able to log in, and password for that user is, okay, secret. So this is the password for our what we say means user. So we are able to create a user, right? So we are able to create a user. You can see start. So no particular roles are there. No, the user cannot create a database. The user cannot, okay, create other users. So these are all the things we have. So this is how you can create a new user. The details of the new user are saved in a table. All the new user details are saved in a table called as PG attribute, PG auth ID. So PG auth ID, there is a table, so which saves the details of all the users. Okay. So this is the table where all user details are saved. PG auth ID. Okay. So, it is the data dictionary object. So what I am going to do is I'm going to say select star from PG auth ID semicolon. So, it is showing some users, some built-in users are also there. Okay. And our Postgres and our, start user is also there. Right. So I use expanded output. Okay. Because I will get to see the things more clearly. So you can see PG database owner role is there. So, what options it has. So false role inherit is true. No create role, no create DB, can log in, false. This cannot log in. So, likewise, some built-in users are there. Built-in users are there. Okay. So don't delete or don't change them. Let it be, because some functions depends on those roles. Some of the system functions depends on those roles. So, okay, so a lot of them are there actually. So now from here, OID, every role will have its own OID. So the OID of Postgres role, or the first super user role, is 10. That is fixed. Role name is Postgres, and you can see the attributes. Role attribute super true. Role attribute inherit true. Create role true. Create DB true. So all true, 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 true. And the connection limit is -1. So that means the user can make concurrent connections which are equivalent to the max connections. The role password is also saved here. Okay, it is a Scramshaw encrypted password. So it is saved here, you can see. Okay, and the valid until, so the user never expires. And our start user, which we have created, our start user which we have created, OID is this one. The role name is Scott, and the super user and role inherit, yes. So no super user, but role inherit is yes. Create role is no. Create DB is no. Can login, yes, can login. So create role replication. So these are all no. Password is there, and the role will never expire. Okay. And I will create one more user with a create user statement. Create user dummy with the password. This time I am not giving login. You can see I am not giving any login here. So I'm able to create the user. So with create user statement. Now we will check the same what we say means thing for our SAMI user. So what attributes it got? So remember, I have not given even login attribute to SAMI user, but I have used create user option, create user statement, not create role statement. So for SAMI user, you can see, so can login has been true. It's been true. Okay. So create user automatically assigns the login attribute, create role. So it won't assign the login attribute. You need to manually assign. Okay. So let's log off from here and we use one of the user to log in. So let's say I want to log in, capital U you have to use with Scott. Okay, what it says is, the database card does not exist. When you give a user to log in, so Postgres, the PSQL assumes that there is a database with the same name as username, and it will try to connect to that database. So if not, it will fail. So what you need to do is, you also need to give the database name. So you also need to give the database name. So now it is connecting, right? So this is how you have to connect. Okay. So what I can do here, I see, I can see the T1 table. Select star from T1. So whether this statement should be successful or failed. Anybody can suggest this
I
statement should
think
be successful or fail.
I think it will fail.
It will fail because we have created the user, but we have not granted any privileges to the user, right? So simply it says permission denied, right? So, we didn't granted any permissions to this user. Okay. So exit from here. So, you log in as a Postgres user. Okay. Then you have your table. So you say grant. Okay. Select. The privilege is select. Okay. Grant select on. So T1 to SCART. So this is how you can grant the privileges, right? And now you are sure. So if you log in as SCART, so that is the SCART will be able to select it, but will not be able to delete or anything like that. So SCART will be able to select that, but will not be able to. So what we say means, so select that, but if SCART tries to insert, insert into T1 values. So this is going to fail because we have not granted insert privilege. So we have not granted update privilege. We have not granted truncate privilege. We have not granted delete privilege. So these are the privileges you need. So, and this is, so these statements are not going to work. Okay. So Scott is not able to use these statements. Okay. So this is how you should be able to, what we say means grant the privileges and also revoke the privileges. Every object you create, so whether it is a table or a database, so every object you create will have a owner. The owner will be able to grant to others, or the super user, the Postgres user will be able to grant to others. The super users will be able to grant or revoke from others or grant to others, or the owner of the database, owner of the table will be, owner of the object will be able to grant and revoke. Okay. So, and the same thing also applies for, dropping. The owner can drop the object. The super user can drop the object. Normal users cannot drop the object. So hope everybody is very clear about this, right? So, so we'll come back to role memberships. So we will come back to role membership. Dropping a role. So dropping a role is not an easy task. Creating a role or a user is easy. Simply create user, create role you can use and you can create it. But dropping, Postgres does not allow the dropping if there are any dependencies on that role or user. Like, any object is owned by that user. Okay. So you are not able to drop that user unless and until you transfer all the ownerships. So if you want to drop any user, so you have to log into each database you have, and then you have to check what ownerships that user has in that database, and you have to transfer that to other users or drop those objects. So you have to do either of the things. Okay. So then only you will be able to, drop the user. So what you need to do to drop the user is, so you have to change the or transfer the ownership. For transferring the ownership, Postgres gives a command called as reassign. This statement is specific to Postgres. Reassign statement. Reassigned owned by user to another user. So whatever objects are owned by this user, now you know that the ownership is transferred to the successor user. Okay. So you can reassign the ownerships to other users. So that is, reassign command is there to transfer the ownerships. Okay. Not just for dropping. Any point of time you want to transfer something, you can, but always remember this statement for all objects. Okay. If the owner owns 10 objects, all the 10 objects ownership will be transferred to the other user. So reassign command is there for transferring the ownership. And then, you also have a statement, drop statement. So that drop statement you can use drop owned by a username. So whatever the objects this user owns, all the objects will be dropped. So this is another thing, dropping all the objects owned by that particular user. These two statements becomes handy when you want to drop a user or a role. So one is, you change the transfer the ownership. Other one is you drop all the objects owned by that particular user. You have to do it per database. Every database you have to go and do it. Okay. Because, in Postgres, the users are not limited to one database. The users are not limited to one database. So the users can be like, the users. So one user you have created SCART user. So the SCART user can own objects in multiple databases. Okay. So in Postgres database, if you have created a new database, in that also SCART user can own some objects. So like that. So that's the reason, you have to reassign, transfer the ownership. So in each database before dropping the role. So dropping the role is very simple. So once you have reassigned the ownerships to another user, so then you have run this command in all what we say means databases. So then you can drop the role, drop role name. So you this statement reassign and drop owned can be run by a super user. Okay. So that is what how you can drop the role. Any questions here? Everybody clear how to drop a role? Okay, I'm assuming everybody
Before,
is clear. Yeah, go ahead and ask.
yeah, before dropping, we need to reassign that role to some another user, right? Then we need to
If you
drop.
want to, if you want to.
Okay.
If you don't want that objects also which are owned by that user, simply you can, use this statement, drop owned by that username.
Okay. So if we
There are two
assign,
scenarios. Yeah, there are two scenarios. Let's say, you want to drop the user, but, you want those, you want to retain the objects. Okay. You want to
yes.
retain the tables owned by that user, but you
Hmm.
don't want that user, only tables you want.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
in such case, you have to transfer the ownership of those tables to other users before dropping the user. Got it?
Okay. So if we do reassign, then if you drop, then those object will not delete. I mean, not drop.
It will not delete. It will not delete.
Okay. Okay. Got it now.
Okay. So you have to do this statement, reassign statement in each database. So why? Because, in Postgres, the user is a high level object. It can own the tables in any database you have.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. It is not specific to a database.
Okay.
So,
Got it.
so there is a public a role. So this role is there is a public role. Okay. So it's a ghost role. Ghost role means what?
For
You
everyone.
cannot see public role anywhere in, the auth ID is the table where all the roles or users should be listed, right? Auth
Hmm.
ID is the table. PG auth ID is the table where all the roles and users should be listed, should be saved. So that is the place Postgres will save the user details. But public is not there in that, right? So, public is not there in that, right? So public is not there. Okay, we logged in as Scott, right? We don't have on the catalog objects, privileges on the catalog objects. Only create role user will have the role. A user with create role attribute will have the privilege on that table or super user. Okay. Select OID comma role name from PG underscore auth ID. So you don't have any public here. You can see there is no public at all. Okay. So, but the public role is there. So you can feel it. So that's the reason it is called as ghost role. You can feel that, but it does not exist in any of the what we say means in any of the data dictionary objects. you cannot trace the public role. Okay. So its existence you cannot trace, but the role exists, public role exists. So it is a ghost role. So it is a ghost role. Okay. So what is that role is all about is, if you grant anything to the public, so it is like granting that to all users. Just now we granted select privilege on T1 table to Scott, right? If I grant the select privilege on T1 table to public, so every user can have access to the T1 table. So every user can do select on T1 table. So public role, if you grant any privileges to the public role, so those privileges are object privileges only. Okay, not the attributes. So all those privileges are, it's like assigning those privileges to the public, okay, to everyone. So like, in Windows, we have an everyone, right? So a public the role is like a everyone role in Postgres. It is there. You can grant and you can revoke from the public role. Okay. So there are certain objects. Okay. When you create those objects, automatically some privileges are assigned to the public. Some privileges are granted to the public. So we will see what privileges by default the public role gets. Because, if you want your system to be secure, you need to revoke, okay, privileges from the public. Otherwise, your system will remain insecure. Okay. So you need to know which privileges by default are granted to the public so that you can revoke them when that object is created. So that is about, the public role. Okay. The privileges are, called as ACLs in Postgres. Okay. So, you have access privileges here. So this is list of databases. And so the last column here is access privileges. So you can see the privileges like this CTC. Okay, that is a privilege. It uses a Linux like thing, Unix and Linux like thing for permit to represent single letter to represent the permissions. So like in Unix, the read permission is represented as R, the write permission is represented as W, and execute permission is represented as X. So it also, Postgres also represents the permissions in single letters. So they are called as ACLs. They are called as what? ACLs. So I have given a table of ACLs. So, you have select, that is R, read, insert. So that is append, because you are appending a new row. So that is A. Update. So you are changing, that is write. And these select privilege is applicable to, so table like objects like views, sequences. So insert privilege is applicable to table and table columns. You can also control which columns the user can insert into. So update privilege is also applicable to table and, table columns. So you can also control which column the user can update, right? So delete privilege, so it is applicable to table. Truncate privilege, this is also applicable to the table. So truncate is represented as capital D and delete is represented as small d. Okay. References into referential integrity constraint. So that is, X. So it is also related to table and column. So trigger privilege also related to table. Create privilege. So capital C is there. So create privilege you can assign to a database, a schema, and table space. So all these three objects have a create privilege because you create other objects in them. You create tables in the schema, you create the schemas and other objects in the database, and you create database and other objects in the table spaces, right? So you need that create privilege if you want to create it. The user needs a create privilege if they want to create any object within that object. Like a user want to create a table in a schema. User requires create privilege on the schema. Then only the user will be able to create a new table. So connect privilege is specific to the database. It is represented as C, small c. So you can see here. So for example, so you take template one database, it has CTC, capital C, capital T, and small c. So capital C is create, capital T is, temporary, and small c is connect. Databases will have that connect privilege. Only databases will have connect privilege. So that is represented as small c. Temporary, only databases will have temporary privilege. Privilege to create temporary files, temporary tables. So that is the temporary privilege. Okay. Execute privilege is related to functions and procedures. Usage privilege is related to particularly schemas, sequences, okay, and the data wrappers, domains, languages. As I said, PLSQL can use, Postgres can use PL/PGSQL language, PL Java language, PL, different languages. So when you install the language, so you can also control who can, use that language by usage privilege. Okay. So this is the table where all the privileges and to which objects they are applicable are shown. There is another table given here. So it is, it is privilege wise table. And this one is object wise table. Object, for example, database. So what privileges are associated with the database? CTC, these are the three privileges associated with the database. Capital small c means connect, capital T means temporary, and capital C means create. Okay. So these are the three privileges which are associated with the database. Out of these three, two are assigned to public by default. Two are assigned to public by default. Okay. So connect privilege means, if you create a new database automatically, so that database will have connect privilege granted to public. That means anybody can connect to that database. Okay. So it's a bit of security risk. When you create a new database, it is always recommended to revoke the connect privilege from public. Okay. Domain is nothing but the defined or derived data types where you are combining a data type column and plus a check constraint. So together it is called as a domain. So you only have usage privilege on the domain, and that is by default assigned to public. Anybody, if you create a domain, any user can use that domain in their tables. Stored procedures and functions, only one privilege you have, that is execute, and by default that execute privilege is granted to public, so every user can execute that. Okay, stored procedure and function. So that is the default. So this column tells you the default privileges assigned to the public role. Okay, but the good thing is on schema where you save the objects like tables and all, so none of the privilege, schema has only two privileges, usage and create. So ability to access the schema and ability to create new objects in the schema. These are the two privileges schema has, and public is given none. So, if you create your own schema, so that is secure. So nobody can access it until and unless you grant usage privilege to that user. The table. So table has these, what we say means 7 privileges. Insert, select, update, delete, truncate, references, and trigger. So these privileges, none of these privileges are granted to public. So, your table is secure, your schema is secure. Your sequence is also secure because nobody is given, so anything. So table space is also secure. So it has only create privilege. And if you create a table space, only the owner or the super user can create the new tables or databases in that. Others are not allowed unless and until you grant them create privilege. Okay. So this is the table which tells you for each object what permissions we have, what privileges we have, and out of them, so which privileges are assigned to the public by default, and what is the PSQL meta command to look into that. Okay. So the grant statement is simple. Grant list of privileges on object to the user. So that is pretty much. So you can also use with the grant option. So these are the privileges: select, insert, update, delete, truncate, same privileges we have seen. So revoke. Oops. So revoke privilege is like, normal revoke privilege you have. Okay. So you can also just revoke grant option. So if that is granted with grant option, you can also revoke that grant option. So you can revoke list of privileges on an object from a user. So the data dictionary objects related to our, what we say users is, so PG auth ID. This is the main, what we say means, so this is the main place where, okay, so all the user details and their attribute details are saved. Then PG roles is there. It is a view. All of them are views. All of them are views. So you also have, the views like role table grants, role column grants, role usage grants, routing privileges. A lot of them are there. So, one thing you wish to know is, you have granted. So you have granted some privileges to the, on the, what we say means T1 table. So I am Postgres user. You have granted privileges on T1 table. Sometime at some point of time, you want to know to whom you have granted privileges and what privileges you have granted to the T1 table. So, that information is saved with the object. Okay. So like, the like PG class is the table which is the metadata or, data dictionary table for tables. So what privileges are granted on T1 table, that it will also be there in PG class table. So let me show you. Select OID comma rel name comma rel ACL. So you can see. So this is where you can find, so what privileges are granted and who granted them. So this is the grantee to whom you have granted, and these are the privileges. ARWDXT, capital DXT. So these are the 7 privileges granted on the table, means all privileges. So granted by Postgres user. Now the grantee is cart user. What privilege is granted? only read, that is select privilege is granted. And who granted this select privilege? Postgres user has granted the select privilege. Okay. So this is what, this is what, so the information you will have. So this is the information you can extract from the PG class table for each of the table. So what privileges has been granted, to whom they have been granted, who granted it, all such information can be, you can find from rel ACL. So the rel ACL column will be there in each of the database data dictionary object. Like, so there is a dat ACL in PG database. So here also dot ACL represent what privileges are granted and to whom they have granted. Now you can see this is granted to Postgres. The privileges are, the create, temporary, and connect granted by Postgres. But what about this one? So this I can understand. So this is the grantee, that is to whom we have granted, and this is the grantor who granted, and these are the privileges which are granted. Okay, but here there is some difference is there, right? Okay, here who is the grantee? So grantor is Postgres, the privilege is connect, but who is the grantee? There is no grantee here. So if there is no grantee here, so the before is equal to, I don't have anything here. Here I have Postgres before is equal to, right? So here I don't have here. So that means, this privilege is granted to public role. So if the grantee is not there, then, it is the public role to which it is granted. Okay. Any questions here? So every object, every data dictionary object, like, PG database or PG, what we say means PG class. So every object will have ACL column. The ACL column contains the information about the privileges granted to whom, what privileges are granted, and who granted those privileges. So this information will be there. Okay. So if you have any questions, you can shoot now. So one topic we skipped, that is, the roles, role memberships. So now we will come to the role memberships. Okay, everybody is clear. We can continue to role memberships. Okay, so fine. I am assuming everybody is clear. So right now we have two users, right? Sami and Scott user. We have created Scott user, and then we have granted some privileges to the Scott user. That is, we granted a select privilege to Scott user. What I can do is I can grant Scott to Sami. I told you we can grant one user to another user. In this case, what happens? Whatever the privileges of Scott user are there, so they are inherited by Sami user. Right? As a super user, I did this grant. Because the Scott user does not have with grant option. So, now I will exit from here. I will log in as Sami. So I'm able to log in. So I can see that table. I can say select star from T1. I should be able to get this because, I have granted SCAR to Sami, right? Okay. So you can see Sami user role membership, you have SCAR. Okay. So this is what you have. Okay. So, one thing is we need to be sure that, what is the no inherit user. So all users by default are inherit user, means if you grant one user to another, automatically they will inherit. So what is no inherit user, right? So before that, I want to see the PG class table. So I want to see the PG class table for rel name because, some user also got some privilege on the T1 table, right? So here, so you cannot see anything regarding Sami here. The only thing you can find about Sami is, the member, he is the member of, so, SCART group, means whatever privileges the SCART has, Sami also has here. Okay. So I will exit from here. I will create a no inherit user. Create role uh, Aaron with login, no inherit. Okay. Password secret. So the role is created. Okay. So role is created. No inherit user is created. Okay. So I have given the password also. I had given login privilege so that the user can log in. So what I can do is now I can exit from here and I can log in as Aaron, right? Okay. Sorry. Before login for Aaron, I want to grant start to Aaron. Okay. So I want to grant start to Aaron. So this also I want to do. Then I want to log in as Aaron. So because Aaron is a no inherit user, so automatically Aaron does not inherit any privileges from Scott because Aaron is a no inherit user. Okay. So let's log in as Aaron. Okay. So select star from T1. So this should not work. Permission denied. Why? Because, the Aaron is the member of Scott. Okay. So Aaron is also member of Scott because, but Aaron is no inherit. It won't inherit any privileges from Aaron. Then what is the reason we should grant? So how Aaron can use the privileges of Scott? So that is where, the set role 2 comes into picture. Set role Scott as Aaron user. So role Scott. So you have to change the role to Scott. And then you run the command, then you run select star from T1. So it works fine. So once you are done working as Scott, so you can say set role none. You are back to Aaron. So select star from T1, it does not work. So, this is how it works. So for the no inherit users, they have to set the role. So that's a additional security privilege. So you can set. Any questions here? Okay, that is about our users. So if you have any questions regarding the users, you can ask me right now before we go to the next topic. So it looks like everybody is quite good with the user lesson, right? So, we will go to the next topic. So that is databases. Okay. So that is about the users and privileges. It is pretty much straightforward here. So there is no what we say means complexity. It's pretty much straightforward topic, right? So creating and managing the database. Now we will see about, the creating and managing the databases. So before we go for the break. So object hierarchy in Postgres is like this. Database cluster is the top level thing. And then under database, you have users and groups, databases and table spaces. These are the second level objects. So top level objects also we call them. So even if you go to the PG admin, it also reports the same thing. Under each cluster, it will report 3 objects. The IP has changed 23.24.172. So 23.24.172. So this is the IP address which got changed. So, yesterday I changed the password, right? Okay, worked. So if you look into the cluster here, so today I changed this password to secret 2. So you can see databases, users, and table spaces. These are the 3 high level objects. Okay. Here also, users and group databases and table spaces. These are the high level objects. Under databases, we have catalogs, that is, system tables like PG database, PG auth ID, and schema. So that is under the database, and extensions. Under schema, we have table, view, sequence, functions, and event triggers. So these are the objects. Actually, our tables, our views, our stored procedures and functions, they are under the schema. So the schema is the container of all database objects. Database contains schemas, schemas contains, database objects, and a database in Postgres can have as many schemas as it wants. Okay. So by default, there is a public schema in each database. Okay. By default, there is a public schema in each database. And by default, that public schema is accessible to everyone. So public schema has usage privilege granted to public role. So that's the reason public schema is not secure. So when you are deploying a production database, you need to create a private schema, user schema, and in that you have to create the tables. So don't create anything. Right now we are using only public schema, right? So that is what the schemas are. So under the cluster you have databases. Under databases you have schemas. Okay. A database, a Postgres can manage multiple databases. That's the reason it is called as cluster of databases. It is nothing but the named collection of objects, and so you can create the database simply by saying the command create database, or from Linux command prompt. So you can also use create db statement. Okay. So create database name with owner. You can also use owner. So template, if you want to use a particular, you want to choose a template, you can mention the template here. Encoding and collate C type. So you can give the character encoding and all here. So table spaces. So if you want this database to be created in a particular table space, so then you can mention the table space name also. So the database will be created, okay, in a different table space. Allow connection is a mechanism to, allow the connection to the database, or so if you set it to false, it is a Boolean thing. So true or false. If you set it to false, so Postgres does not allow connections to that database. Right now, template 0 is the one which does not allow any connections. Okay. Template 0 is the database which does not allow any connections. So if you want your database also does not allow connections, let's say, so you have a database, and that database, okay, you don't want others to use that database because that is a what we say means, it's an old version of tables and all it got, but you want to retain the data, but you don't want to let anybody connect to it. So you can simply say allow connections is equal to fast, and nobody can connect to it. Connection limit also you can give. So at a time, how many concurrent connections the database will accept? By default, it is the max connections. But if you want to throttle that, and you can also give max connections, the connection limit for each database. If you want to designate this database as a template, so you can make it true. Is template is equal to true makes the database template. So that means, it can be used by the users to create other databases. So these are the options we have with the create database. Okay. Create database. As we discussed earlier in earlier topic, when you create a new database, automatically the connect privilege is granted to public. So automatically the connect privilege is given to public when a new database is created. So that's the reason, as soon as you create a new database, you need to run the revoke statement. Revoke connect on database from public. So you have to revoke the connect privilege. So from the data from the public, so then only, so your database will be secure. Otherwise, the Postgres allows connection to any user to that database. So we don't want that, right? So we want only those users who are specifically granted connect privilege on the database, so should be able to log into that database, should be able to connect to that database. So that is what, so we need to do. Super user can connect to any database irrespective of, so what privileges that super user has. So any database super user will be able to connect. So if you want to, from the PSQL, if you want to switch the database, you can use this command, connect DB name. So you will be switched to a new database. Let us create a database, right? So, it's not that hard. So as I said, it is just one command it is. You can create a database from here as well. So you can create a database from, so you can use this one to create database, or I can use the query tool, or you can simply right click on the database node and you can say create database. So that is also possible. Okay. So I can also use this statement, create database mydb owner, let us say Scott. So I am creating a new database called as mydb, whose owner is Scott. Successful. Then, because this database has the public, so connect privilege to public, I need to revoke connect. Okay, on mydb from public. So this is a mandatory step. So here, one thing you have to mention is database. So, so these two statements are sufficient. Actually, the first statement creates the database. So the second statement secures it. Now only the database mydb, okay, Scott user can connect or Postgres user can connect. Sami user and Aaron user cannot, means, both of those users are inherited, right? So they will also be able to connect. So that's the thing we missed actually. Okay. Simply, this is how you can create your databases and you can secure your databases. So you come over here from the command prompt. So let me check con info. I think, I am still in that exit. Well, okay, I have mydb, which is created. Scott, owner is Scott. And, so still, the temporary privilege is granted to public. Still, public has this T privilege, but, they cannot do anything with the T privilege public because they cannot connect, first of all, right? So Scott user has, CTC, that is, create temporary and connect privilege on Scott database. Okay. So that is what the mydb is. So how can I connect to it? I can connect as a Scott user. So instead of database Postgres, I will say mydb. It is always a good practice to create a database whose name is same as username. So if you are creating a database for Scott user, it is a good practice to name that database as cart. But it is only a good practice, not a technical requirement. So you can say con info. See, you can connect like this to that database. So you can also create a new connection in the, what we say means our PG admin for this cart user. Right now, the connection we had in the PG admin, that is only for our Postgres user. Okay. Any questions regarding the database? So if you want to switch the database, you can always switch the database using the connect command. So already you are connected to MyDB. You can check you are connected to MyDB. Now I want to change it to Postgres. So now you are connected to Postgres database. So from the PG app, from the PSQL, you can switch the database connection. Okay, using connect. Any questions here? Okay, so that's great. No questions so far. So our break time is also due. So we'll take a break. So our next topic is, so how many databases already we have seen this, and if you want to drop a database, drop database name. So owner of the database and super user can drop, or any user with the create DB attribute can drop. If a user has create DB attribute, that user can drop the database. So the next topic is schema. So once we will come back from the break, we will complete the schema topic, and then we will go to the lab. So we will go to the lab once we come back from once we complete the schema topic. Okay. Okay then. So see you guys after break. Okay, so hope everybody is back. So hope everyone is back. I'm assuming everyone is back. So, okay. Thanks, Manu, for raising the hands. Thank you guys. So I will get that, confidence that everybody is back. So I can start. So our next topic is schema. Our next topic is schema. So schema is there in almost all databases except that MySQL, every database will have the schema. So the schema implementation in Postgres is, so it is a bit different than Oracle, but it is pretty much same as most of the databases which support, which support schema. So just a minute, let me finish that. Just a moment. Okay. So, okay. So that was a urgent message actually. So, the schema is a container of database objects like tables, views, functions, and domains. So whatever all other objects are there, they are part of the schema. So the relationship between the user and the schema is user owns the schema. Okay, the user owns the schema. Okay, so and the schema contains the objects like tables and everything. So here in Postgres, there is one exception, that is, the user name and schema name can be different like many other databases, but it is not allowed in Oracle. Username and schema name are same in Oracle. Okay, so that is one difference for those who are from Oracle background. So, and the other difference is, you can provide access to the objects which are there in schema to others. That is same for all databases. And so a user can own object in other user schema. That is also possible in Postgres. So Scott user, let us say Scott user has a schema. Scott user and the Aaron user has a schema. So with the right permissions given, the Scott user can own a table in Aaron user schema. So that is possible in Postgres. Okay. So all you need to create a object in a schema is a create privilege on the schema. All you need a usage privilege on the schema to access the objects from the schema. Okay. So that is what, you need these two privileges. You need at least a usage privilege if you want to access any object from the schema. Okay. So the relationship between the user and the schema is this one. User owns the schema. Schema contains other objects. Okay. So creating schema is pretty much straightforward task. So create schema, schema name, authorization, username. Here, the term authorization is used. The word authorization is used. I am not sure why, but it is actually means owner of the schema. Who owns the schema? So authorization, that is authorization. So this is the user who mentioned, so that owns the schema. Okay. So here I had given create schema Raj, authorization Raj. That means we are creating a new schema called as named as Raj, and whose owner is also the user Raj. So here we are following a good practice. So the good practice is the schema name must be same as username. That is the good practice. So, however, technically, so it is not an issue if the username and schema name differs. So that is not going to create any kind of show breaker issues or any kind of major issues. Even minor issues also it does not create. So always you can have a username different and schema name different. But a good practice is always, the username should be same as schema name. The database name should be same as username. So the username, database name and schema name must be, so should be same. That is the best practice. So if you have the user's cart, so you create a database cart, and in that database cart you create a schema cart. So that is what, the good practice is. However, it is just a good practice. Technically it is okay to have different names so than username, and it does not create any minor issues or major issues. Okay. So that is what, how you create the schema. Okay. Shall I create a schema? You can also create schema from here. Okay. From, so you can create schema from here. So for example, you can connect to MyDB and you can say create schema. So there is a create schema here. So you can give name to the schema owner, you can select. So you have so many people here. So this schema you are creating in MyDB because you have right clicked on MyDB, right? So you right clicked on MyDB, and if you say create schema, you are creating the schema in MyDB. Okay. But whereas this particular window, query window, is connected to Postgres database. So it is connected to Postgres database. Okay. So, that's the reason, if you if you run the create statement here, it will create a schema in Postgres database. So I am just closing this connection. So remove panel, don't save. Okay. I'm going to the command line, and here I am going to connect. So the user is Scott. I am exiting from here. Connect MyDB. Connect MyDB. So I'm connected as a super user to MyDB. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is, I'm going to create a schema whose owner is Scott. So right now, how many schemas are there? So right now only one public schema is there, that is owned by so Postgres user. Okay. As I had said, public schemas are not safe. So public schemas are not safe because they have the usage permission for all users. So they are not safe. So you can create a schema here, create schema, schema name. So you can give a schema name. I'm giving the schema name as Scott. Authorization Scott. So the owner of the schema is Scott and the name of the schema is also Scott. Okay, by this I am following a good practice, right? I'm following a good practice here. Okay, so the what we say means the database. So the schema is Scott, and the owner of that schema is also Scott. So username and schema name are same. So I am following a good practice here. So creating a schema is done. So and you can run the dn command to know what schemas you have. So now you can see you have two schemas. One is owned by Postgres, which is public, and other one is owned by Scott, which is Scott schema. The data dictionary of schema is in namespace table. PG underscore namespace. So this is the table, so which includes the details of the schemas. This is a table, catalog table. Data dictionary tables are also called as catalog tables in Postgres. Okay, so we will check this table and see if our schema details are there. So this PG underscore namespace table is maintained per database. Each database will have so its own PG underscore namespace tables. So right now, you have this public schema, SCART schema, which we have created. NPS owner, that is namespace owner is 16387. That is the OID of SCART. The OID of schema is 16391. Okay. So, and you can see information schema is there. So this is by default created for every database. And a public schema we have seen by default, every database have a public schema. So, PG catalog, PG toast, these are two other schemas we have. PG catalog is where our catalog objects appears, like, PG namespace, PG database, PG class, all these tables are part of catalog schema. So information schema also has, the tables which are standard data dictionary tables as prescribed by ANSI. Okay. So like, almost every database has to RDBMS product provides this information schema. So like Postgres is also providing that. That is data dictionary objects. They are all views. Only the catalog will contain the tables views, but information schema is all views, and these views are created based on the tables in PG catalog. Okay, so PG catalog is the actual data dictionary. So our schema is cart, the owner is cart, and the permissions, nobody has any permissions right now except the owner and the super user. Okay, nobody has any permissions so far. But whereas, for public schema, you can see there are two permissions possible on schema, usage and create. Both of them are granted to Postgres user by Postgres user. And usage and create are also granted to public. You can see here, before is equal to, there is no user. That means usage and create both are granted to public. Okay, so that is what, so public schema is insecure. You can also revoke that. So you can, if you want to secure the public schema, at least you can revoke the create permission or both permissions you can revoke. Anyways, we have created our start schema, right? Then I want to create a table. Create table T1. Okay. So I have created a T1 table. Now you see how this table got created. Okay, sorry, I am still Postgres user.
Sami, can you reshare your screen? I'm not
It's
able
not
to see.
appearing.
Not for me. I don't know for others.
No, no, for us it is visible. Chandan, you can do one thing, just rejoin once again, then you can
Okay.
visit.
Okay, please continue,
So I will
Sami. I
just
will
give
rejoin.
2 minutes. So you can join in 2 minutes, no problem. 1 minute you can join. So I'm doing nothing now. So I'm just dropping that table, accidentally created table, right? So I'm dropping that table. Okay. So I'm exiting from here. I will log in as cart user.
Yeah, it's visible now.
Great. So sometimes it happens. Okay. So right now I am connected as cart user to MyDB. Now I am gonna create one table. So right now there are no tables. So right now I am going to create a new table right now. So now you check out how this table got created. So how this table got created, where in which schema it got created. So perfect, right? So it get created perfect. Just give me a minute. I will just complete this call. Yes, Suresh, quickly. Okay, sorry for that. That guy was pinging and pinging. So, okay, so it is what we say means, so, the table got created in schema start, right? The table got created in schema start. So perfectly. Okay. So you can also, if you want to create a table in different schema, you can always put schema name dot table name. So that is the standard notation, right? Schema name dot table name. So if the the schema name and the username are same, there is no need to give anything. Okay. So let me show you one more scenario. So let me show you one more scenario. This scenario is the username and schema name are different. Okay, I'm creating a schema. Create schema, sales, authorization, error. So create schema scales, sales, authorization is error. So, we have created sales schema and user is Aaron, owner is Aaron. We are in Postgres database. We are not in MyDB. So that's the reason SCART schema is not showing up here. So SCART schema is there in MyDB. So this scenario, we have what we say means Aaron user owning the sales schema. So I will exit from here. I will connect as Aaron user. So I will connect as Aaron user. So connect to Postgres database as Aaron. Okay. Secret. Okay. So how to handle if you have a schema name different and what we say means, the username is different, how the behavior is. So just see the behavior. Okay. So exit from here, log in. Okay, we are logged in already. So I logged in as Aaron. Okay. So so we have one table, T1 table, which we created earlier. So I want to create one more table here. So say create. So we will see again. So schemas. So we have two schemas. So one is a sales schema, another one is public schema. So let's create a new table. Let's create a new table and see how it gets created, where it sits. Create table. Okay, let's say orders, ID, integer. So just one column is enough. So I'm creating a table, orders table. So where this table got created? Where this table got created? So this table got created in public schema, right? It got created in public schema. So that is how, so it will be, so you can change this behavior. This is the default behavior. So this is the default behavior. So you can change this behavior. So actually, It got created in public. That is because of a setting, a user level and session level setting, so called as search path. There is a user level and session level settings called as a search path. The default search path is username and public. So username means any schema, so whose name is equal to user, or in public. So that is the two search paths we have. Two schemas in the search paths we have. Okay. So whichever schema is the first schema, right? Okay. So that will get, that means a new table that will get created. There it will get created. You can change the search path. You can change the search path like this. That search path is equal to, so I am saying sales, comma, okay, public. So sales, comma, public. So the first search path is sales. First schema in the search path is sales. So now you see the behavior. Now you see the behavior. It is a bit changed now. Now I create one more table. Probably I will create, okay, invoice table. Okay, so I'm just creating the invoice table. Now you check where that table sits. So the invoice table went into the sales schema. Why? Because the first schema mentioned in the search path is sales. Okay, so that's the reason, it went into the sales. Everybody understood the concept here? Okay, this set is means whenever you set any parameter with the set command, so it is temporary for session, right? So if I log off and then log in back, okay, so if I log off and log in back, so my, what we say means search path is back to that. It is not permanent. So, but a user can set the search path permanently for itself, or the DBA, that is super user, can also set the search path permanently for the user. You can say, so alter user in database Postgres, because the sales schema is there in Postgres database. When the ARN user connects to the sales schema, Postgres database, then sales schema should be the first in the search path. So that's the reason, I am setting this search path parameter for user, alter user username, right? Aaron in database post set search path is equal to sales, comma, whatever you want, you can give. So this is how permanently a user can set the search path for themselves. Okay, so once it is done, you can log off and log in any number of times. So this search path remains permanent for this user. Okay, any questions here? You can just log off and log in back. So the user will have, so that search path. Okay. So which we have set. So this is a permanent solution. So for each database, the user can set the search path in every database. When the user logs into ARN, what should be the search path? When the user logs into, when the user logs in ARN logs to MyDB, what should be the search path? When the user logs to the Postgres database, what should be the search path? For each database, you can mention by giving in database name option. So with alter user, you are giving in database. So search path is a database level. So in the database user level setting, which is specific to the database. So you are giving that for that database. So any questions here? So that is about our search path and the schema. So any questions you can ask me now. So if we don't have any questions, so we can go to the lab exercise. So there is a lab exercise called as, databases. Okay, it will be, completed. So you can just refresh your Google Drive and you should be able to see this databases lab exercise. So you are supposed to, it takes about, 40 to 45 minutes, sometimes 1 hour also. So we will go to the lab. I'm putting like, right now it is 6:46. So I'm giving like, so, so let's see how much time you take. Usually it take more than 45 minutes. So even if you do till the evening, so 6 p.m., no issues.
Sami, my system is little messed up. I just need your help.
Sure, no problem. I will just, let
Yeah.
me put this banner first. Okay, now you can share your screen and let me see the issue. So there are some chat messages also. Okay, so already they are dealt with. So you can share your screen now. So complete databases.txt. I have uploaded one file.
Are you able to see my screen?
Okay, pgctl status, you give the command pg underscore ctl one space status.
PG.
Status, you didn't mention status.
Yeah, okay,
pgctl.
It's not running. No server running.
Okay, start it. pgctl start.
Okay.
Great, good.
And I'm not able to copy from my personal laptop and paste it in the nano editor. When I right click or when I try to
I
paste
think,
it.
they have disabled that, copying.
Okay. Actually, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't happen.
I think, DXC might have requested that they
Okay.
disable the copy pasting.
Okay.
Security
Okay.
risk, right?
Fine, fine, fine. So
So
there
what
is
you can
nothing.
do is,
Yeah.
if you want to copy paste, so
Okay.
I use the notepad, right?
Yes. Yeah. You
Okay,
are
you
on
launch,
notepad.
you can
Yeah.
create your own notepad. So you launch one thing here,
Okay.
your browser.
Okay. Fine.
So you can also create your own notepad and you can use that for pasting.
Fine. Fine. Okay. Okay. And Sami, yeah, and since this morning, ever since I changed this IP after restarting, um, the like I'm not able to connect to this.
Okay, go to the properties. You also change. Okay, go to the properties, right click. properties, connection.
Okay.
So I think you did you change the port also?
I don't think so. I never changed, I guess.
Okay, it looks good. 127.0.0.1 looks good to me.
Yeah.
So go back and go back and to the putty
Okay.
and run the connect and run the command show connect PSQL. Show port, yeah, port is 5432 only. That's the reason it is connecting. Show port, PORT. Oh, just port. Already you, okay, put semicolon, enter. No, that doesn't work. Put semicolon and enter. So if you don't put semicolon, it will continue the line. So that is, so it is just put a semicolon and enter key.
Sorry.
Don't put anything, you just put
Okay.
semicolon, enter. It is a continuation of previous line if you don't terminate with semicolon. Say
Okay.
show port. Show port, semicolon,
Okay.
semicolon. Yeah. So 5432 only.
Yes.
Okay, now you go to the, this one, PG admin. So you right click, connect. So Postgres users password, secret or whatever you have given.
It was secret. Okay.
So connected. Actually, earlier it didn't connect it
Yes.
because, when you tried first, so
Okay.
it could have been the service was not running.
Okay. Might be. Okay.
Yeah. So then we started the service, but we just checked the connection details, but we didn't try to reconnect it, right?
Okay. Okay.
So,
Okay. Fine.
so
Fine.
after checking the port, we reconnected it.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So without checking the port, if we are reconnected, it would have been successful. So I
Okay.
think you are all good. So anybody has any issues?
Thanks, Ravi.
Sami, I'm not able to log into machine.
Is it so?
Yeah.
So just let me call these guys.
Even I have
Okay.
sent an email as well.
Oh, you also send an email.
Yeah, for Sagar.
Sagar's email you have?
Yes, I have.
Okay. It is provided.
Yeah, he has shared the credentials for me. So.
Whether the guy came or not, I will. Give me just a minute. I will.
Okay.
So that guy seems like he's not in office. Good evening, sir. One of the server is not working. Lab server. User 23. Yeah, user 23. I put the message long back to Sagar in WhatsApp. And his phone is not working, I think. Okay, okay. ఓకే చూడండి అది కొంచెం అది చాలాసేపు అయింది మెసేజ్ పెట్టి నో ప్రాబ్లం సో 2 minutes give 2 minutes Madhu so it will be okay.
Okay, Sami. Thank you.
Hello, Sami.
Yes.
Sami.
You're having issue, you can share your screen. Hello.
One second.
Your voice is not visible, Narsimha.
Sharing my screen.
Your voice is breaking, not audible.
You are not able to hear me?
Now it is okay. Now it is correct.
Okay,
Clear.
one second. I'm sharing my screen. You able to see my screen?
Yes, I can see.
Yeah. So actually, so yesterday I was able to connect to Postgres. Now I'm not able to connect to Postgres.
So right now you are in admin user, right?
Just logged in as freshly once again as admin.
Okay.
So
Switch to Postgres.
what?
Switch to Postgres user.
Switch to.
Good. Nice. Okay, so PGCTL. Okay, yeah, who am I? So PGCTL status underscore underscore underscore. PGCTL. Okay, PG underscore CTL. Okay, one space state. Yeah, now it is. Okay, you start it.
So every time whenever we log in, we need to start this.
Yeah. So you want
No PS.
automatically to start, and not every time you log in, every time that server restarts.
Okay.
So you want it automatically start. You can also do that to make it start automatically. You can configure that also.
Okay. Where to make that?
So you have to go to the, you have to become the admin user.
Exit from here?
Yes, exit from here, exit from Postgres. So you have to either be admin user or root user to do that.
Your voice is not clear. So I should exit from here and log in as admin?
Yes, you have to become admin user.
Exit
from here and you become admin user. Or root user. It won't work because Postgres is not an admin user. You cannot do sudo with Postgres.
So I
Exit
should
again.
mention exit again.
Yeah, exit again. You will become admin user.
Yeah. It's admin.
So, yeah, now you run the command systemctl.
Sudo systemctl start service, something was there, that one?
No. Sudo systemctl. So enable. Now the verb is CTL system. CTL is one word. Systemctl is just one word. Enable. So one space. So Postgres, POSTGRES, and press tab key. It will autocomplete. Press tab key. Yes, enter. Enter. Yes. To test it, you can reboot the server. Sudo reboot. So if you want to test it, whether it is working or not.
I'll exit and I'll reboot up.
Yeah, you can from the Hyper-V, you can restart the server. From there also, you could have typed the command reboot, sudo reboot.
Okay, reboot from there also.
Yeah, but now you are out. So, from Hyper-V, you can simply right click and you can simply say, I don't know, it is, yeah, turn off, turn on. So this will make sure that, the service comes online every time, you reboot the server automatically. So
Okay.
generally the DBAs most of the times don't want this. Some people want it. Some people don't want it. It depends on, company to company
Yeah.
policy. So if you want it, this is how you
Okay.
can set it.
It's the same.
Yes. Postgres, you can directly log in as Postgres because we don't need to do any administrative task, right? Yes. Now
I
you
can
say
do that.
PGCTL. Yeah, you can also directly connect PGCTL status. You can do.
Yeah, it's fine.
So yeah,
Right. Thank you.
welcome. So the database is .txt. You complete. So it takes time because it's a bit of long lapse lab. This thing. You
Sunny,
can
add me.
stop sharing.
Yeah.
So who shared the screen?
This is Chandan.
Okay,
So
Chandan.
it's not taking admin.
Admin, you give admin. Admin, password also admin. Okay, so just kill it. Take a new putty or just duplicate the session. So now you try direct Postgres. I'm not sure what happened to that admin user. Did you change the password for admin user? Use Postgres.
Password secret.
For
SECRET.
secret or Postgres? So this is the OS user Postgres. As far as I remember, I told Postgres only.
Postgres, huh?
Mm. Post installation. So here you are setting the password, sudo password Postgres. So I had given Postgres. I am not sure what you have given. Try Postgres. So whether it should work.
Just telling if I have written my password.
Sami,
Yes.
Sami, can you ping me that enable statement once in the chat?
No
I
problem.
lost it.
No problem. So I'll ping to everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, can I take your system and can I fix that issue? I will log
Yeah.
in from my system. Okay, type Postgres once.
Okay.
Okay, type Postgres once and check.
Yeah, I did that.
It didn't work, right?
Yeah.
So what is your user?
See, I remember admin. Okay.
You know that, guacamole user.
That
User
is
20,
user 33.
user 33.
Yes.
You're sure of that?
Yes.
Okay, good. So can you log out?
Yeah. So how?
Just a moment, I am fixing that. Did you logged out?
Yeah, I did that.
Are you sure your user is 33?
Yes, yes.
So
I
you
have
are
email
running barman
user.
also.
Yes.
Okay, no
Actually, I
problem.
did not stop till now. That is the problem.
Oh, no, not that is not the problem. Okay,
Okay.
could have been the problem. So 29.161.236. Working fine. Admin is working fine, right? For me.
Okay. So what was
Okay, I'm logging off. You can try that. So,
okay?
I am leaving this as it is.
Okay.
Okay. So I closed it. So you can log in, try to log in.
Yeah, I'm doing that.
So already it is logged in. I just logged in using that window. So same admin I have used.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing.
Admin. Let me
Yes.
write down also.
Sometimes we also include capital A, so it is habit, right?
Both are
So
small, right?
yeah, all are small. So admin, both are same. So you have to become Postgres user for running that PGCTL command. Sudo su Postgres.
Minus need to give, right?
Yes, minus you need to give. Otherwise, PGCTL that some commands does not work.
Okay, why
Control
it
C.
is?
Control C. It won't load that bash profile file if you don't give the minus. Space before and after minus. It won't accept that. Linux is a bit cranky. Yes. So if you don't give the minus, it won't load the bash profile file.
So it should ask password for Postgres, right? Or it is correct?
If you give sudo, it will ask password for admin.
No, I am surprised with word
Admin only.
ADMIN. It's fine, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
ADMIN admin. That's it.
So here password is admin again.
Again admin. Yes,
So
it is done.
just a minute.
Who am
So
I? Whenever you
this,
do sudo, it will ask the password of admin user only. So
no, but I don't want that, right?
that is the purpose of admin user, right?
Okay, so
So
now
if you don't want, you can directly log in into the Postgres.
it will ask admin password, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now who am I? Postgres. But Postgres password is now I will connect as a Postgres, right?
Yes. So now you are Linux user Postgres.
So who am I? This is Linux user now.
Yeah, that is a Linux command and the Postgres is Linux user. Admin is also
Okay,
Linux user. Okay.
just a minute. This thing I was now I will remember and understood. So if this sudo command, okay, it will ask always admin password, okay, and admin
Yes.
password is admin, okay.
Hmm.
Now who am I will show me Postgres.
Who am I will show you current user.
Will show as
Current
Linux user, okay, and that is
Linux current.
Postgres, right?
It depends. If you are logged in as admin, then you say who am I, it will say admin. If you become root and say who am I, so it will say root. If you become Postgres user and say who am I, so it will say you just do an exit here.
Okay, now
Exit.
let's.
Okay, now you become admin user. So exit. So now you became admin user. You say who am I?
Hmm.
So
Okay, now
switch user
let's.
to Postgres.
Yeah.
So when you switch, you will become Postgres user. Sudo su dash Postgres. So you are switching the user. Dash space Postgres.
No, but again, it is Linux user, right?
Yeah, Linux user only. So for managing Postgres, you have to go to Linux. Who am I? So you went back to admin and came back to Postgres. So who am I? So it will now you are Postgres user. Got it?
Hmm.
Okay. So now you run PSQ PG underscore CTL space status. So it will show you whether Postgres is running or not. PG underscore
PGCTL, right?
PG underscore CTL status. Server
It's
is
running.
running. Now you can connect. You can connect.
Okay. I'm SQL DBA, so I'm a little
Okay, okay.
challenging.
Yeah, so when you start with command line first, so there will be a lot of confusion. And Linux is not a forgiving type of operating system. So it is very strict. It is not
Yeah.
forgiving. Even a capital letter, small letter difference makes so the commands to fail. So it is case sensitive. It is space sensitive. So wherever it does not like the space, you should not give the space. So wherever it wants the space, you must give the space. It is very sensitive to spaces. It is very sensitive to uppercase and lowercase. So you have to be a bit, put up with it. But slowly you will get to it. So once you get to it, it is very easy to use operating system. It has a learning curve.
Yeah.
don't use capitals. So Linux does not like a mixed case or case sensitive. It is very case sensitive. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So you are done. So you can unshare the screen.
Yeah, Google Drive, I am just trying to see.
You can bookmark that, right? So you go to that notepad, the other tab notepad. So go on top. So scroll up till top. So you have this Google Drive, copy. So you paste it here, enter, bookmark it. So yes. So next time you have it already. So you go to the labs. Madhu, your system is up. Please confirm.
Not yet, Sami.
These guys, I will take care of them.
Okay.
So user 23 machine is still not up. Yes, so it is not working yet. It's a priority, urgent, very urgent. We are on the lab session. So this system is not working. So sure, 5 minutes, right? So it's a urgent priority, please.
Sorry, can I share my system?
Yes, you can.
I'm not able to.
You are not able to.
So this is saying bad request. PGR.
So close it.
Close.
Close.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, say okay. Oh, that. Okay, you close it, kill it. So, you click on the servers, click on the servers.
Yeah.
Left
Adds
hand
up.
side, servers, click.
Nothing.
Okay, you go to the IP address 23.206.133. Is that the same IP? Check from the Hyper-V.
Yeah, it is the same. 172, 23, 206, 1.
Okay, this is same, right? So, just make sure. So refresh this page, refresh button is there, right? So do the refresh button.
Okay.
Okay.
Add.
So you didn't already added it?
No, I didn't add yesterday.
Okay, add new server. Yeah. Give some name ABCs, XYZ, or my lab, my server, anything. So connection, go to the connection tab. So here you give 127.0.0.1. Okay. So did you change the password? Username is Postgres. This is the DB username.
Correct.
So password, give the password. So DB user password that is, and save password
Yes,
also.
I give. I shall save.
So then, yeah, save it, save button.
Yeah. Save. Huh?
Yes, done. Okay, save. Okay. Save never, you can do whatever you like. It is connected.
I think like this IP got refreshed. I was not refreshing. That's the reason.
Yeah, sometimes
Hmm. Okay,
they are
fine.
not,
Thank you.
yeah.
Samir Surya here. Samir, you there? Able to hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I am here. Tell me. I was on mute
Yeah.
actually.
Sorry. I'm sharing the screen.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. I have executed those things, but I have some doubts. I have changed the port yesterday. But every time when I was trying to log into PSQL, I used to give this command, then only I can come to this. Why I was not able to do it
Because you
directly?
have changed the port, it will look for default port. If you don't
Default
mention
port
the
only it
port,
will look. So
it
where
will
can I
look
change
for.
for the default port?
So generally, if you want, you can set in the bash profile, you can set the PG port variable. So exit from here.
Okay.
So now here what you do is, so you need to edit the .bash profile.
Okay. This one, right?
.bash profile, yes.
Here I
So
can
you need
mention
to add a new line after, you can add a new line. So export in capital letters PG port, one word, is equal to
that's it.
save and exit.
Okay.
Yes. Save and exit and source it. Source
Yeah.
it first.
Okay. I'm able to log in. Thank you. And another one thing, um, I was trying to export that file. Where it is? Yeah, export that file. Maybe that's the reason I was not able to. I was trying to export the file with the admin user, but I was not able to do it.
Okay.
Surya, 1 second.
Mm.
Sami, now the default port is like 5432, right? Now, if it is, she has changed it to 33. Now, and again in the bash file also, she is setting it again to 33 only. Right? Will it not take 32 by default?
Well, the bash profile is read by the clients, not by the server. Okay.
Hmm.
So your PSQL read that bash profile. So when PSQL connects, it will look into what port is set and it will go to that port. So the server listening port is set in the PostgreSQL.conf file or by alter system command. Hope you got your answer.
Come again?
So the thing is, the bash profile is read by the client.
Hmm.
So bash profile is not read by the server. Server will never read bash profile.
Okay.
So server will read the PostgreSQL.conf file and auto.conf file.
Okay.
So if you are changing for server, so you have to change in the what we say means configuration file. So and the thing is, if you put in bash profile, so generally the clients goes to the default port. So you are
Hmm.
telling to the clients, instead of going to the default port, go to this port.
Okay.
Hope you
So
got
if
your
she,
answer.
okay, if she again changes back to the again 32, then again she can remove it from there, from the bash profile like the 33, or again she need to set like the 32 there.
She can, so she has to, change that to 32 again. So, whatever the server port is, you can change it.
Uh,
Okay.
okay. Yes,
So
Surya, sorry.
there is no need to set also.
Sorry, Surya, you can carry on.
Okay. Uh, yes, Amir. I was trying
Yes,
to
Ranga.
export this file with this admin user, but I was not able to
Okay,
try
let me
to.
check. So,
Yeah.
Madhu, you check the user 23.
Hi,
Yeah, sure.
Sami. Yeah, I was just confirming. It is up, Sami. I'm able to log in.
You are able to log in, right?
Yes, yes.
Great. So just
Yeah.
now, Ranga, so they also said.
Okay. Thank you, Sami.
Sometimes what happens is, you try to log in from your home PC or something.
No, it's a corporate PC only.
Sometimes what happens is, if you try to log in from two devices, right? So,
Okay.
the sessions get stuck and you will get this type of issue.
Okay.
Uh, and now it is working fine, right? So no
Yes,
problem.
yes. Even putty was not working, but I turned off and I turned on. So now it's working.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
So let me know if you have any issues.
Sure.
Okay, so now coming to here. So what is the problem here?
Yeah, I was trying to export this SQL file via admin user, but I was not able to do it. Is it a port issue or else?
Yeah, earlier it was port issue. Now try again, so it should work. As
Oh,
admin user, you try that again.
I think it is showing as a permission denied.
User employees. Did you created user employees or HR some users? So that user's permission is denied.
Mm-hmm.
So you go to the Postgres and check, so that user's permission is denied. You created employees database.
Yeah, I created employees databases and I created a schemas and the roles, granted the roles as well. I
Okay,
think a
so
user might be I didn't create it. I created an employees database with the Postgres user.
okay. You need to create employees database. So you know what that
Can I
file
change the
says.
ownership now of the database?
Anytime you can change. So anytime you can change the ownerships. So which was that?
See that employees database was not mentioned under which user. So we can create in any user, right? Either Postgres or
Create a
Spot.
database. Okay, create a database names employees.
Uh-huh.
Revoke connect privilege from. Okay, that
Public.
is the option. That is the question number 2.
Yeah.
Remove
Right.
connect privilege from public. Then create a
Right.
user
So
named
data.
HR. Make the user HR owner of database employees. The point number the question number 3 you missed.
Create a user named HR. I have created a user named HR, but I didn't make the owner of the HR to these employees. That's very
Yeah, you have to make that user owner of the HR. So
okay.
you keep one connection separate for Postgres. So
Okay.
anytime you have issues, you can fix the issues.
Okay. See here I have created a owner.
Create a user HR with secret. Okay, now you can run the alter database name with owner HR. \L you give. So let's check.
Okay.
So what users okay. So \L you give. So we have employees database, owner is
Yeah.
Postgres.
Yes.
So you have to make the owner as HR. So \du you give to check what users we have. So you have HR user. So
Yeah.
alter database name. Employees with owner HR. Semicolon enter. Okay, owner is equal to HR you give.
Okay. to give in quotes.
Oops. No, not okay. No, no, that is not the issue. Alter
See,
Option
database.
owner not recognized.
Okay, you remove this with, you remove the with.
Okay.
Owner HR without with space owner HR you give. Owner one space HR. Oops. Option owner not recognized. You give backslash H. Okay, one space. Okay, not that. So Q quit backslash H alter database. So it will give the help for that only. Backslash H alter database. Enter.
Alter database name owner to new owner.
Two.
I think.
Okay, we are
Yeah, two.
so you know the two. Okay.
Database name is
Okay.
employees, right?
You can also use tab key to autocomplete. Owner to HR.
No, it's
Oh, great. It worked.
yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, you know, the backslash H option is very good. Always remember
Yeah.
that.
Okay, sure.
You know, so we cannot remember all the syntaxes, right? Postgres, Oracle, SQL Server.
Exactly.
So, so you know, you can just remember backslash H. So we will extend the time till 6 p.m. It is going to take a lot of time. So I'm just extending the lab time till 6 p.m. IST.
Mm.
So tomorrow we don't have the training, right? So I don't see tomorrow.
It is
So the
not
next,
scheduled.
yeah, the next we have the training is on Monday again. Okay. So till Monday, so we don't have any training.
I'm sharing my screen.
Sure, go ahead.
So I'm in.
Create schema HR, authorization HR in employees database. Say DN backslash DN. Okay, create schema HR, authorization HR.
So, but now I connected as HR. Sorry,
Okay, so
I'm connected as Postgres as user
okay, now
Postgres.
you run. Yeah, no problem. Okay,
So what was
backslash
problem
DN
is
again.
syntax error? What?
I'm not sure what the problem is. So you copy pasted that? No, I don't
Yeah.
think so. Sometimes if you copy paste, you will get extra characters,
Okay. Okay.
invisible characters. So that could be the problem. So because now it is working, same command is working fine, right?
So this prompt will be employees has, right? It is correct. It will always show
Yeah,
database
employee
has.
database name is equal to hash. Okay, name of
Okay.
the database is equal to hash. That is the prompt you will get for PSQL.
Okay. So this is behavior, right? So it will tell me I
Mm.
am in employees database and what query will run on this database, right? So that is what it is.
Yes. Not who am I does not work here. It is a Linux command, who am I.
Okay.
It is not Postgres command. You can see that is equal to has become. So when you say that who am I, so that is equal to has become dash, right? Can you see
Okay.
that? That means it is a continuation of previous line. Every line
Okay.
must end with a semicolon.
Mhm.
So now you are in Linux.
So switch to Linux user admin, right?
Exit.
Now I am admin like that. Okay.
Yes, you are admin.
Thanks. So in weekends, if servers are not connected, so we need
You can
to restart,
just,
right?
yeah,
This
you need to restart. But
Postgres.
if you are not able to connect from the browser itself, then you need to contact Sagar.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So you are so complete those tasks. There are a lot of tasks. It will take a lot of time. I think you have to do some of the tasks tomorrow also. There are totally 20 tasks are there.
And imp.sql file, it's already there, right? Or we created.
Yeah, it is there already. Imp.sql file is already there with the
There
sample
by
data.
this. Okay, so you kept it or it is by the template? The system have that.
I kept it. I
Okay,
kept it.
okay.
Actually,
But
this is the lab I have created totally for this training. All the virtual machines are there, right? So all of them I created it. So for this training. Wow. Okay, guys. Okay, I think that's all for today. See you guys on Monday afternoon. So I'm stopping the meeting.
Yeah, thanks,
Thanks,
Sami.
Ami.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Sami.
Thanks,
Thank
Amit.
you.
You're welcome.